Okay, so before we go to nursing homes, I just wanted to address briefly, because this is something that I think is on everybody's mind, not just regarding telehealth, but regarding all the waivers and flexibilities that we've seen, is what happens when these things expire. So remember, going back briefly for a minute, remember that there were two things that had to have happened before we were able to get these waivers and flexibilities. Number one, the president had to declare a national emergency, which happened in mid-March. And number two, the secretary had to declare a public health emergency, which he did at the end of January, and which he just renewed, I believe, April 26th, I think it was. And so with those two declarations, we then have we're able to start the regulatory process to have these expansions. These waivers depend on the continued effectiveness of the president's and the secretary's designations, and they would expire when either one of those would terminate, or 60 days from the date a waiver is first published or modified. Note also that the secretary can extend waivers for 60-day periods. So we can't predict, right, when the waivers will end, or if there'll be regulatory or statutory changes that will make any of them permanent, whether there will be a sort of grace period, extended to providers and entities in order to return to sort of pre-COVID operations. But I think one of the things that you can do now to sort of be thinking about that is to be thinking about it and to begin taking steps to prepare. So for example, it would be important to maintain an inventory, be aware of the waivers and the flexibilities that you are currently taking advantage of, and start to think about what changes you will need to make to roll them back. Now, in the example of telehealth, it may be that you've made changes to billing systems and to services being provided, obviously via telehealth. And what are you going to have to do to return to sort of a everybody can do telehealth for everything environment? The other thing, are you using practitioners who are operating under some sort of a license flexibility? And again, in many states, it's now much easier to get a license. There's expedited processes. So it may be that if you think that you're going to need to continue to rely on those practitioners, maybe you start thinking about, well, let's get them fully licensed now. And again, it's important to be aware. I'm sort of focusing on the federal stuff, but it's important to be aware what you have taken advantage of that your state individually may have extended to you.